It was no mistake when Keith Pintar turned on a one-way street headed in the wrong direction.
I didn't really care if I killed myself or if I killed anybody else at that point. The pain was just so bad, the rejection, the anger, the depression.
Keith's anger took root when he was 8 years old. His mother was a violinist for the Miami Beach Philharmonic until multiple sclerosis quickly left her bedridden. Keith knew his mother was dying.
And she'd call me to her bed every day in the last few months of things and say, Keith, I'm so sad that I'm not going to be able to see you grow up and become a man. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I became angry and mad at God and cursing God.
His mother suffered for 3.5 years until she passed away.
I remember being at the funeral, not shedding a tear. I knew she died, but I was in denial as far as dealing with it.
At first, Keith's father, Frank, tried to comfort him, but that quickly changed when Frank could no longer deal with the loss.
What is wrong with you?
He'd be in my face and just raging on me and yelling at me. And he'd tell me, you're dirty, lousy, good for nothing. You'll never be anything when you grow up. Do you hear me? Just something up here just said, I'm going to show you what a dirty, lousy, good for nothing really is.
Keith's grades dropped and he started smoking marijuana.
And it did lead to opium, to mushrooms, to acid, to cocaine, to all these different drugs. The police brought me home many times.
In high school, Keith started playing guitar in heavy metal bands.
I'm going to be a rock musician, a rock star, and then I won't have any worries. I won't have to deal with this anger, this depression, this stuffing, this loss, this volcano that could erupt at any time.
When he was 17, the fights with his father became physical. A year later, Keith moved out. He started playing in a band called U.S. Toys. It threw him full force into the rock and roll lifestyle. But all the drugs and failed relationships left Keith devastated.
And I couldn't sleep because I was so high. Finally, I'd pass out, wake up at noon or 2 o'clock the next day, and I'd have blood all over my pillow from snorting so much cocaine. And so I would play Russian roulette. Sometimes I'd put one in the chamber and just spin it and just mess around with it.
Keith occasionally called home. His stepmother, Elizabeth, shared the gospel with him.
I told Keith, I said, I want you to have that personal relationship with Jesus that I have.
Keith wouldn't listen. He still blamed God for his mother's death. Then one night, overcome by depression, he went on a suicide mission.
I got in my truck and I threw it into first gear, and I got on a one-way street, Main Street in Columbus, Ohio, and just started going into one-way traffic, not really caring. There was traffic coming at me full on, and I remember just closing my eyes and swerving back and forth, and I really didn't care. I fully expected to get slammed by a truck.
Keith made it through the traffic without a scratch. He pulled over at a payphone and called home.
And so I said, Elizabeth, I'm so depressed, I just feel like killing myself.
Elizabeth opened her Bible to Jeremiah 29, verse 11. She told Keith how God had a plan and purpose for his life.
As she was talking to me about the Lord, I felt this warmth just come from the top of my head, through my body, just to the toes of my feet. And I remember saying, Elizabeth, this is incredible, this feeling, it's awesome. I feel like everything's going to be okay.
The next day, Keith jumped on a plane to his parents' home in Miami. But while he was there, Keith knew he was in a spiritual battle.
So every evening, Elizabeth would talk to me about the Lord, and I'd go to bed just on cloud 9. But I'd go to bed and I'd have these horrific nightmares, just really bad. I mean, demonic, with literally just the fires of hell.
Frank and Elizabeth sent Keith to a Christian rehab center.
And I went to the prayer room one night, about 3 in the morning. And I remember in that prayer room, the presence of God being so powerful. And all at once, I remember just just started just weeping and crying, and I hadn't cried in a long time. And as I accepted Christ in my life right then at that prayer room, and then the next night at a church service, I went to the altar.
God, I want to feel your presence. I want to follow you.
After Keith accepted Jesus as his Savior, he made a deal with God concerning his guitar skills.
If you'll use those things that now I know there's a gift that you've given me, I'll serve you.
Keith immediately saw God's blessings in his life.
He did heal me of the drugs instantaneously.
When I saw the transformation in Keith, that just made me just so happy and just so wonderful.
And as he promised, Keith used his music to encourage others to follow Christ.
And I was playing in the worship band at the church, and it felt good. It felt right. It felt like that was the missing piece.
Keith's life was finally going in the right direction. He met his wife, Christy, and began opening for popular Christian bands. Then in 1994, his dad came to his church.
All at once, he just got up in the middle of the row. We were sitting next to him, and got up and started walking in front of us to the aisle and then towards the stage. And we were just all frozen, like, oh my gosh, this is the real deal.
I thought, now I am going to live a different life, knowing that I had Christ in my soul.
I know that God needed for my father to see the incredible change that his Spirit had done in me to essentially lead him to the Lord.
I'm very, very proud of him. I'm elated more than I ever could be that what he is doing, the music for God, that is playing the music for him.
I play him a new song that God's given me, and he's just blessed, and so it's just good. It's just real good. It's totally different. And that father-son relationship that we always wanted but never knew how to get, God knew how to get it and give it.